Welcome everyone. Radhe Radhe. Here we begin another live Sangha. As we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention for the space. First of all, let this be an offering to Shri Radha Krishna, and let this be a space where we may come together as fellow spiritual seekers to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiment. And hello Luna, and hello Aquarius lady. Welcome. You're very early, a lot of you. And I trust those who are joining now are as well as they can be, given whatever circumstances may be prevailing in their lives at this time. And even if you're going through something, having some feelings, processing emotions, that is totally valid. No one is expected to be happy, even though that is always a possibility for you. And hello, Alice. I hope that you feel comfortable. I hope you feel safe, allowed to be here, accepted, welcomed, because you are all of those things, and much more. And hello, Ragnhildur. Welcome. You all are very early. And hello, Emily. I am doing well today. Thank you. What I've been doing today, pool, chess, or today I went for a walk. I tried to find all of the sidewalk libraries. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes you're walking down the street and there's a little library where you can leave a book, take a book. I was looking for all of those. And hello, cornbread. Now, since you all are so early, I have a question of the day for you. I was wondering, what word do you find funny? Funny to say, at least. Although sometimes my questions of the day may vary from, deep philosophical inquiries to questions about self-expression and love. Today I am wondering, what do you find funny to say? And you share that it is lagging or freezing for some people. It doesn't appear to be on my screen for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Very strange. Yeah, I don't seem to be having any internet disconnectivity issues. Can I restart the live? I can if it is persisting. But everything seems to be good on my end. But thank you, Fakmi Dadi, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. Apple user, you share that you find it funny to take things serious sometimes. Yes. This universe, does it take itself seriously? If not, then why are we taking ourselves so seriously? Alfie, you had asked, what do I think of the nuclear incident described in the Bhagavad Gita? In the Bhagavad Gita, maybe in the Mahabharata, but the Bhagavad Gita is just a song about the tale of one's soul, a discourse of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga. No actual action takes place, but there is a lot of action that takes place just after the Bhagavad Gita ends. Namaste, Chloe. Alright, on to some funny words. Gladius L, you share. Hooperdofs. Foo Fighters. Emily, you find Visog amusing to say, and you use it often. I've never heard of this word before. Visog. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Greetings, Dash. Cole, you share that tuber is a funny word. Tuber. I like that. The leg is gone. I'm glad to hear that. Cornbread, you share that the funny thing for you to say is dumplings. It's a good word, isn't it? Dumplings. Tabernacle, says Midwestern Soul. Chloe, you share toot of the looms. Kumquat, says Jazz. Bugging, says Claudia Sal. Visog means face, says Emily. Interesting. I've never heard of that. Pirouette, says Tack Unlimited. A good word, that is. Peckish, says RJ Rose. Thank you, Alfie. How about quack, says Greg RG. Quack is a lovely word. Very funny. And pirouette is the most beautiful word in your mind, says Tack Unlimited. I agree, it's a very beautiful word. What the flip, says Apple User. McLovin, says 4B Movement. Gobble 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 turkey, says Claudia Sal. And what Miss Gorkas? Elbow, says Ragnhildur. I like that. Elbow. Any word from The Sims, says Chloe Evans. I do like Simlish. A good language. Stanley Hawk, you ask, where am I from? I am from Canada. Greg RG, you share, oh, we can't forget supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. A classic of funny words. Lil Katrina, you say tasks, because you always have to do x. Which is broom, says Claudia Sal. Kristen Alice, you would like us to talk about anxiety, please? Well, anxiety is that feeling that arises when you feel like there's something that has gone wrong, is going wrong, or could be going wrong. And coming to befriend anxiety means to realize that nothing has gone wrong, nothing is going wrong, and nothing will go wrong. Everything has, is, and will be all right. SpongeBob Clodspants, says Claudia Sell. Consciousness, says Chief Wayward. It is a funny word. Pumpernickel, says Madam Nugget. And thank you, Smiles and Flames. for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Sierra, you share that somebody said trope today and it made you cringe so hard. Trope. Happy to see you here, Abhikash. Smiles and flames. You ask, how will it be alright? There is so much pain and misery. And those are allowed. Experiencing pain, experiencing misery actually doesn't take away from your experience of this life. It only deepens it. Now, that's not to say I would wish anyone pain or misery, but I can be very grateful for everything that I've gone through, both good and bad. In what makes me who I am today, I have been very much humbled by a lot of pain in my life, and it helps me connect to others who are going through similar things. And with all the pain that other people are going through, that gives me an opportunity to be there for them. In all of those ways, things are all right. And thank you, Dub Darker, for your heart me. Radhe, Radhe. Morgan, you share Earth. Earth is a plot of land, and the Earth is the biggest Earth. Good day, user 364. Hello, Dub Darker. Wasps, says Big Player Drip. Moist, you add as well. And Chloe, you share that your mom hates the word soiled. Shenanigans, says Aquarius Lady. Delineate, says Chief Wayward. And Berrywater, you share that the side of my face is blending in with the background. I am becoming the universe. Chloe, you share that another funny word is yeet. I agree. It is a funny word. Loki, you ask, what is my definition of God? I try not to define God, because, who knows, maybe my definition might invalidate the experience of someone else. I am open to experiencing new definitions. There are so many ways in which we could come to understand the source of existence. Being that infinite benefactor of this world, I dare not define that infinite with finite words. Stick, you share? Guadalajara. Orla, you share that a word you find funny is rural. Perhaps the most difficult word to say, rural. It's technically a word that is only vowels, or semi-vowels. In many languages, the R and the L sound are considered vowels. Because you can continue them, and they're a part of the vowel space, a continuous space of sounds that aren't made by the sudden contact between two organs of speech. Rural. It's really just a trip you take through the vowel space to say the word rural. That's fun, isn't it? Bodhisattva, you share that Burmese always sounds nice. Burmese. I agree. Hooligan, says Daniel. And who is this? VSQHV, you share that lafafa means beg in your language. That's awesome. Claudia Sell, you are so funny. Superfluous, says Tish. I like all these funny words. Now, thank you, everyone. I very much enjoy all these funny words. So wonderful. And thank you, Tatvamasi, for your quintet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Now, I've had my fun, so I'm going to be minimizing the question of the day for now. As many of you know, I like to begin my lives with a question of the day, and today was a funny one. And then I like to begin it with a short reading from a book. Today we are going to be reading Roar the Ganges, and this reading is extra special because we will be reading the last chapter. We've read it through all the chapters so far. All we have to do is read this one more. There's also an afterword and more information and about the author, which we'll read as well. But this last chapter is called The Onward Journey. As I walked out of the dining hall after lunch, I saw Swami Sudhananda standing near the office door. He beckoned me with a wave of his hand and went inside. By the time I arrived, he had already returned to the pile of papers on his cluttered desk. He looked up and said with a sense of urgency that our guru, Swami Dayananda, wanted to see me before he left. That is, right now. Being summoned like that made me feel oddly like a schoolboy ordered to the principal's office. I knocked at the door of Swami Dayananda's cottage. No answer. After a few minutes I knocked again, and I wondered if I should come back later. Then a muffled voice from within asked me to wait. I stood quietly, feeling a bit anxious, wondering why I had been called. Finally, he opened the door to let me in and walked towards his chair without saying a word. I touched his feet and sat on the floor before him. When you go back to the States, he said, you are likely to have some difficulties being understood as a sannyasi, a renunciate, by the local folk. You knew this very well from the beginning. Here in India, there is no problem. Everyone knows what a sannyasi is. Most people here respect those committed to a life of renunciation. But back in the States, few people will understand. Someone who gives up their job and takes to a life of contemplation is likely to be considered a lazy or worthless fellow. Also, these robes will appear strange. Westerners are familiar with religious habits worn by Christian monks and nuns, but they might think you are wearing an orange bedsheet. Swami Dayananda picked up an orange t-shirt from the table and handed it to me. You don't have to wear these robes at all times. You can wear pants and shirt when you travel. You will have to learn how to adapt some of our traditions to life in the West. Thank you, Swamiji, I said, taking the shirt. But how do I know which traditions to follow and which to modify? There is no rule, nor are there any precedents for you to follow. You will have to discover for yourself what is appropriate. It's more important to hold firm to the spirit of sannyasa, renunciation, than to rigidly adhere to the customs of Indian sannyasis. You just have to maintain your life of renunciation and remain dedicated to spiritual pursuits alone. Swami Dayananda finished his brief lecture and dismissed me without further discussion. I left his cottage feeling somewhat unsettled. I knew I would encounter some difficulties in adjusting to this new lifestyle. I did not particularly look forward to the complications of adapting to life in the West. I was happy to have a few more weeks in India before returning to the US and confronting these issues. I sat on a bench, mentally replaying my conversation with Swami Dayananda, when Swami Prakash suddenly appeared over my shoulder. He inquired, "Is everything quite all right?" "Yes, of course," I answered. "Why do you ask?" He sat beside me and said, "You are looking rather gloomy, isn't it?" "I am accustomed to seeing you look bright and cheerful." I told him my concerns about returning to America. After a few moments, he asked, "What about your parents? What will they say when they learn you have become a sannyasi?" "I discussed all this with them months ago," I replied. "They received the news surprisingly well. My father thinks I am doing something worthwhile with my life. My mother was happy too, but she probably wishes I could get married and raise a family instead. She wants grandchildren." Swami Prakash asked, "How is it your parents are so accepting of you becoming a Swami, a Hindu monk?" I presumed American parents would be quite upset. At first they did not understand, I explained. It took a long time. When I began my spiritual pursuit, they didn't know anything about Vedanta or Swamis. They found all this quite strange. They probably assumed it was a passing fascination that I would soon outgrow. But as my involvement grew stronger, they became concerned. I continued. Swami Dayananda once came to my parents' hometown to give a series of public lectures. I made a special trip to go there so I could bring my parents to meet him and listen to his teachings. They didn't understand everything he taught, but they later recognized that he was a teacher worthy of respect. Years later, when they visited me at the Pennsylvania ashram and saw the work I was doing as manager, they seemed rather pleased. Little by little, their concerns faded. Then, Swami Prakash asked, "What will they feel when they see you dressed in these saffron robes?" Hello, AJ. "They will not see me dressed like this, at least not very soon." "What?" he said in dismay. "You will not be wearing these robes?" "Not when I visit my parents," I answered. "How can you even think that?" he said indignantly. "Wearing these robes is a sacred duty for every sadhu." I was surprised by the strength of his reaction. I had expected to encounter non-acceptance when I got back to the United States, but I never expected to encounter it here in India. I showed him the orange shirt that Swami Dayananda had just given me and said, "Is it not the color that has symbolic importance rather than the style of the dress? Wearing a dhoti and upper cloth is an Indian custom, but sannyasis can wear anything, even if it's only a kaupina, underwear, as long as it's saffron in color. Is it not so?" Swami Prakash did not answer immediately. Then he explained how difficult it is for those immersed in this tradition to accept any changes to their ancient customs. He had never been outside India, and I found it hard to imagine cultures totally different from his own. He found it hard to imagine cultures totally different from his own. He agreed that some changes are inevitable when this tradition takes root outside its land of origin. But in his heart, he still seemed to disapprove. Alright, we'll save ourselves for the last section of this last chapter of this book and pause our reading there for now. But later on we will continue reading this and finish the book. So thank you for listening, everyone, and we may return to our regular format. We may open the door to questions and answers on all things spiritual, metaphysical, philosophical, in any way in which I can relate to my own very, very limited experience on this earthly plane. Radhe Radhe Beast Mode Bandito. And thank you, Katloha, for your quintet of roses you sent whilst we read. Steve, you have a question for me. You need to know if I messaged you today. I did not message you today. No. I never send the first text. Unfortunately, I have to refer you to the banner up there, which explains how if you get messaged by me, it is not me, unfortunately. But you are welcome to message me on other platforms, and I will happily get back to you there. If I'm offering a service, especially if it's for a price, then it is not me. Wonder Woman, you ask, what do you do when you feel you're straying from your spiritual path? Then you're missing the big picture. There is only the spiritual path. You can stray from a trail that may have been walked before, but then you are just creating your own trail. It is not the path itself which is spiritual, it is you, as a spirit soul. All paths that you take are spiritual, because you make everything spiritual. And Steve, you share that you were scammed as this guy asked for money. Well, did you give them money, Steve? I hope not. And Greg RG, you share weight. So that wasn't me saying I'd give you a reading last night. True story. It was not me. I don't do readings. You know this. There is nothing that anyone can tell you that you don't already need to know. Oh good, Steve, okay. You weren't actually scammed. I'm glad you knew it was not me. But thank you for informing me. And welcome, Ali. You share that you're using this experience to understand your fear. That is a wonderful thing to do. And if ever this experience is too much for you, you are always welcome to go somewhere more comfortable. However, pushing one's comfort zones is very admirable. Chloe, you share that you've gotten to where you chanted Om when you meditate to videos, even if it's not a mantra video. That's awesome. Om is a great mantra. You can chant it all day long, wherever you are. Maybe not in the library. People from the desk over will be wondering, what is that sound? Who is chanting? Or maybe not work. Yes. Sky Guardian, you add that chanting Om is usually reserved for sannyasis, unless it's a group chanting. I don't think Om has any qualifications. Indeed, sannyasis do chant Om, as we learned in Roar the Ganges. They surrender the Gayatri mantra, and their mantra only becomes Om. But to hear that and then conclude that only sannyasis can chant Om, that would be called, that would be denying the consequent. No. Denying the, what is it? Affirming the consequent and denying the antecedent. Yes, that would be denying the antecedent. It's a logical fallacy. The fallacy would be, in this case, if you're not a Swami, then you can't chant Om. And thank you, Claire, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Yoro, you ask, what is the point of spirituality? The ultimate goal of spirituality is to understand what is spirit. That is to say, what is the nature of your existence. To self-inquire into what you are. To whom does this experience of life occur to? Rather than the point of science being to understand the object of experience, the point of spirituality is to understand the subject of the experience. The one experiencing, the experiencer. And Sky Guardian, you share that you didn't say only, but it's not typical. This is what Swami Dayananda ji said. I believe you. You don't have to send the audio. Generally, most mantras have some attribution to a particular form of God. Om is very impersonal, just representing the ultimate reality beyond even the forms of God. Getting to that stage of spirituality can take a long time, but everyone is welcome to chant it. And thank you, Shakira, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Claire, thank you for your trio of team bracelets and a friendship necklace. Emily, you ask, do I have lucid dreams? Very much so. Not all of them, which is interesting. Many of my dreams, I don't really care so much if they are actually a dream or not, and sometimes that gets me into trouble. I may wake up from that dream and I may be disarmed by the events of that dream. and have to take a moment to process it. But I think most of my dreams have a kind of lucidity to them, that I am aware that I am dreaming when I am dreaming. And thank you, Rob, for your tiny. Yippee! And Claire, thank you for your hand hearts. Radhe, Radhe. Nish, you ask, have I read the Puranas? I have heard many stories from the Puranas, but I've never sat down to read them myself. But I would very much like to. And I love the way you put that, Ellie. You feel like the point of life is spirituality. It's all connected together. There is no separation. Well put. And you also had asked, have I ever felt the oneness? I feel like together we are one. And in our interconnectedness, there is oneness. But by myself, I do not constitute the entirety of the existence. So there is separation, but there's a relationship between that which is separated, which bridges the gap. And in all of those relationships, together we are one. And thank you, Weekend Vibes, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Emily, you share that. You can pause your dream and sort through environmental cues, then restart it, being left with symbolism. That's so lovely. You know, I've played enough video games in my life that whenever something is going wrong in my dream, sometimes I'll open up the title screen. I've had dreams before where, you know, maybe a bomb goes off in front of me, and before the blast wave hits me, I'll exit the game, and suddenly I'll be at the Minecraft title screen or something, the main menu. Like, whew, glad I avoided that. Let's just pause this sucker for a hot second. And thank you, Violetta P, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. Small, you share that speaking of dreaming, your dogs are dreaming next to you in bed. Your dog is dreaming next to you in bed. That's so cute. I often wonder what pets are dreaming about. Chasing a squirrel, probably. When their paws are moving, they're running, they're chasing something. And thank you, Claire, for your paper crane. Radhe, Radhe. Wonder Woman, you ask? What does reincarnation mean to me then? What role in spirituality does it play? A good question. To me, when our clothes become worn out, we can try patching them up, but eventually the fibers themselves get so old that we have to just recycle the clothes and adorn new garments. These clothes have a use. In particular, they are to protect us from the elements. Our bodies, that is. Likewise, when our bodies get old and worn out, at some point we have to go, okay, it's time for a new one. And so we drop the body and adorn a new one, a fresh one, fresh out the oven so we can continue with our help here in the world. And you might ask, why is it the case that our bodies decay? Wouldn't it be better for Mother Earth to evolve bodies that lasted forever? The problem is that nothing lasts forever in this universe. Everything material has a beginning, and if it has a beginning, it must also have an end. That is written into it. That is the law of karma. So because we are involved with the material world, then our bodies must also be material, and therefore we have to keep acquiring new ones. But I agree, cancel the internet. The body can last a long time. It's about consumption and preservation. According to Vedic astrology, if you take the least common multiple of all of the astrological cycles in the solar system, then that totals to 120 years, which is the expected life of a human being. 120 years. From ancient times, they calculated this, that a human should be able to live 120 years. But we often don't follow the right diet. We make lots of mistakes, especially in this age of Kali, and so our lifespans are decreasing. But there are still people that live to 120 years or so. Every now and then. And hello, Sandra. And hello, Mellow Maverick. And thank you, Claire, for your paper crane and confetti. Hari Om Tat Sat. And hello, Ambrosia. And thank you, Ginseng, for your applause. Jai Sitaram. Wonder Woman, you ask. So, what we contribute in this life, does it become oblivion to the growth we've done spiritually, or does it remember? Consider it like this. What carries with us from lifetime to lifetime is our karmas. It is what we have to unlearn that remains. Spiritual growth happens not by acquiring anything new, but by letting go of the old. And since time immemorial, we've been gathering all this stuff that's preventing us from achieving our highest potential. And so the spiritual process, therefore, is to release all of this karma. So what remains in your next life is what you still have yet to release. So your spiritual progress does continue. Because once you release something, it's not like you get that back in your next life. I mean, you could acquire it back by making the same decisions that you did before, but you don't have to, because what's done is done. What is released is released. True knowledge, Atma Vidya, that comes from spiritual sadhana, that remains because it has always been with you. It is you. You are the very thing that you are looking for. The seeker is the sought. And Violetta, thank you for your TikTok and Rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Liz, thank you for your heart meat. And Putin. That has to be the funniest gift. Putin. Jai Sitaram. And Mellow Maverick, thank you for the TGIF. You must be in the future. For me, it is still Thursday. Jai Sitaram. And Claire, thank you for your tiny. Yippee! Everybody loves Raven. You share that perhaps we make mistakes because we don't want to live 120 years. That may be true. Ellie, you ask, how do you exit the shell that you hide yourself in? I suppose by realizing that you are already beyond that which you felt confined by. For example, an out-of-body experience. This was all the rage maybe a few years ago. People started sharing all of their out-of-body experiences, and then suddenly everyone wanted to experience this. But guess what? You are already out of your body, because you are never in your body. See, look down. You see your legs, you see your chest, you see your hands. You feel all of your body parts. Listen to the sound of your breathe. Maybe your tummy's making noises. Everything about your body is contained by your experience of it. You being the experiencer implies that the body is a part of your experience, which means that the body is inside you. So you are without it, and not within. And thank you, Aquarius lady, for your tiny. Yahoo! Similarly, we may feel like we are hiding behind certain objects of our experience, but they too are inside us. In fact, we are the shell of this whole experience of life. Everything is within you. Wonder Woman, you share that your final question would be then, do you know you're close when you experience the ego death? Who is the one experiencing the ego death? Who is the one that says, I have had an ego death? It is the ego. Ego proudly says, I have died. Well, who's the one talking if the ego has died? The ego is the one talking. And this is true for me, for you, for everyone. Ego isn't something that can die. Ego is our control point for the whole human system. If you lose the ego, there'd be no body for you. The ego has a use, a utility. It is not that bad thing that should be destroyed or anything like that. Ego just means where you serve. If you identify with the body, then your service is directed towards the body. If you identify with your family, then your service is directed towards your family. If you identify with your country, then the service is directed towards your country. If you identify with your profession, then your service is to your clients of that profession. One cannot have no ego, no identity. The spiritual path is not about having no identity. And well said, Ellie. If you identify with fear, then your life is to fear. Instead, we should direct our ego towards what? Towards the soul. When you are serving the soul, then you are serving everyone, because the soul in me is the soul in you. The soul in the caterpillar is the same soul in the butterfly. The soul in your child is the same soul as the soul in your mother. There is one soul. To identify with that soul, you become a servant of the whole universe. And I like the way you put that, shepherds of light. Praise God. The great I am that I am. It's not no identity. It's having all the identity of God. Instead of becoming nobody, become everybody. Rather than coming to nothingness, come to everythingness. But yes, I actually agree, Tattvamasi. Both are equally true. To get to the Father, you first have to get to the Son. To get to everything, you first have to come to nothing. And is that burnt cake? Singular period. I forget your username, and I can't look at it when it's just a gift, but someone with a username that is a single period sent me a rose, and I thank you for that. Hariom Tatsa. Oh no, there's burnt cake. Burnt cake, you are the turtle emoji, that's right. You are also here though. Hello. And thank you, Joss, for your 14 roses. Radhe, Radhe. Valerie Morales, you ask, have I read Zen Mind's Beginner's Mind? I have not, but I have heard the importance through Zen of having a beginner's mind. Always. Even while achieving excellence and mastery, you are a beginner. We are all beginners of life. Even though we've been here for eternity already. Mellow Maverick, you ask, am I real? I suppose that depends what you mean by real. And thank you, Claire, for your popcorn, for your ice cream, for your whipped coffee and a ginger man. Jai Sitaram. Am I artificial intelligence? Well, I think there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. If it's intelligent, is it not? If some intelligence has arisen in this universe via the natural laws, that is a natural intelligence, is it? If you're asking if I'm running on a computer program, well, it's a very fleshy computer program that requires food, nutrients, water, bread. And thank you, Philip Winterhoff, for your rose. Hariom Tatsa. 1. You ask, why does evil exist? It's a tricky question, because what we label as evil certainly exists. suffering exists. Definitely. No one can deny that suffering isn't real. But evil, that is a label we have come up with in reference to the source of suffering. We say if suffering exists, then the source must be evil. But we secretly invalidate the suffering by doing so, because our attention should not be on why the suffering has arisen, but where we can go from here. Our consciousness should be propelled forward by our ability to help those who are suffering, rather than giving our energy to whatever may have caused that suffering. On the surface, it seems like suffering is a bad thing. And indeed, I would never wish it on anyone. Suffering as an experience is traumatizing, and it can be very limiting to our potential. But that is one perspective we can have, and there are more perspectives available to us surrounding suffering. For example, we may recognize that where there is suffering, there is an opportunity to help. And that opportunity to help is just as real as the suffering. And the opportunity to help is a good thing. No one can deny that. You could say that this universe is like a playground for us souls, for us to go and be of help. It is not that the world needs our help, it's that we need to help the world. The need is actually inside ourselves. The world is perfect, even in the conflict that is occurring. But perfect doesn't mean we don't need to attend to it. It's perfect in its potential for us to be of service. There are indeed so many problems with the world, but the world is perfect in its problems because that gives all of us a reason to be here. It gives all of us a chance to do good, and that is what we need. So, to me, I question the existence of evil. There is good, and there is the potential for good. And these are the only two things that exist. There is goodness that is already unfolding, and goodness that has yet to unfold. And the goodness that has yet to unfold, that is for us to become witness to and of. Both are gifts. And thank you, Feline, Delaney, or Delaunay, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Ultraviolet, thank you for your heart me a minute ago. Jai Sita Ram. And Aquarius Lady, thank you for lighting up my life and our live with hanging lights. Hari Om Tat Sat. And hello, Lexi. I am feeling well, thank you. Feline, you ask? May you ask me a question, please? Please, be my guest. You are certainly welcome to. And, Igpei? Thank you for your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ice cream cones. Jai Sitaram. And Denise, thank you for your rose. Radhe Radhe. Feline, your question is a single word, nay, a single letter. I. Now that is the question of all questions, isn't it? I. Here we are, in this universe, all that is. And yet there's more than just a universe going on. There's also a personal experience of it. I am a question, aren't I? A question of what is, of who. And thank you, Giz, for your finger heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Little Wing Nico, you share that you fell asleep last night and I was in your dreams. Well, you really did nod off to sleep then. Well, I hope I was kind to you in your dreams. I like to know what impression I make on the subconscious. And thank you, Igpei, for your rose as well. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, Philip Winterhoff, for another rose. Radhe Radhe. And everybody loves Raven. Thank you for your applause. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, Feline. You share that. You are so scared to lose your mom. She is 88. A bit tired, but still a young teacher. How will you survive? I feel like our mothers are in our lives for precisely the right amount of time. The first miracle that our mothers do is bring us into this life. But the second miracle that our mothers do is leave us alone in this life. Because it's like proof that I have raised you such that I know that you are going to survive without me. A mother will not leave until that is true. Someone told me the other day in the comment of one of my YouTube videos that their mother went into a coma and the brain had died, but their heart kept beating. And the doctors had asked if it was time to, to let her heart stop, I suppose. And so, what a decision one could make. It's so difficult, so challenging. They went and said their goodbyes to their mother, whispered in their ear, even though the brain was no longer working. And just like that, the heart stopped. And it's like that. Even when a mother's mental faculties have stopped. Her heart will still beat until she knows that you are ready to go on without her. Such is the love of a mother. Motherhood is something that transcends the person. Motherhood is something that will go on. The Divine Mother, Mother Earth, Mother Universe, she has taken incarnation as your mother. And she will always be there for you. Just as you have been born from her womb, she will be born into your heart. And there never will be a time where you are separate from your mother. Thank you for your momentary patience as I coughed for a second. But I know how you feel. A mother is our first relationship in life, one that happens even before our birth. And yet it is the most rewarding relationship to see through until the end. Just as our mother has been blessed with the opportunity to see the beginning of our life, we may be blessed with the opportunity to see the end of theirs, and so that love comes full circle. And yes, it is difficult, and that grief that one will experience is proof that you have loved and lived so deeply. But as they have said before, it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And going through this process of grief, even before they die, is even more powerful of an experience, because it allows you to cherish these final moments, these final years. But I speak as though the end is near. They could be in your life for many decades more. I'm still behind on my on extending my gratitude back to those who sent me a gift. Thank you, Feline, for your rose. And Edmo, thank you for your heartmeat. And 9 roses. Ariom Tatsat. And dear Mama JJ, hello. You share. What does it mean when a mother dies the day their baby is born? I think it means that they love their baby so much that they want to look after them from the stars, to be with them in every moment, that they can't handle even a momentary separation from their baby. So they enter into the heart of their child to live with them, united in soul. And thank you, little wing Nico, for your tiny. Yahoo! And I agree, Georgie. Beauty can be very painful, but that's why we hold it, because it's so real. Alright, little wing Nico, you share that. In your dream, I was creating a garden, and you were helping me choose the plants. Oh, thank you for that. I hope you don't mind me creating a garden in your subconscious. Just planting seeds is all. You get to help me choose which flowers to grow. And by your nourishment, I'm sure that they will blossom. And that's quite alright, Aquarius lady. You are welcome to stay as long as you feel comfortable so. And thank you, Morgan Drewy, for your hat and mustache and friendship necklace. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Ragnhildur, you ask, what about mothers that were abusive and violent? Sometimes our birth givers are not necessarily our mothers. The role of a mother is to give life to a child. What gives life to you? That is your mother. And sometimes the giving of life may happen after birth. Maybe that day that your life gets infused with meaning comes long after you were born. Perhaps your mother is more subtle. Just as love may go from one partner to another, the role of motherhood may be an energy that goes from one person in your life to another. No matter who you are, I am sure that there is some energy in your life that you would consider as a mother. And thank you, Philip Winterhoff, for your let 'em cook. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Star, for your hanging light. Jai Sita Ram. Liz, you ask, are fathers as important as a mother, or do they play a weaker importance in someone's life? Without a mother and a father, there can be no life. The father represents the seed of life. The father is what plants that original cause. But the mother is what nurtures that seed, gives it an egg to grow in, a womb to you could say that the father is what plants the seeds in the garden, but the mother is what takes care of the sprouts that shoot from those seeds. Now, I don't care how good of a gardener you are. You could have all the right soil, fertilizer, sunlight, water. If there aren't seeds, nothing's gonna grow. So the seed giver is still very important. Likewise, though the mother is ultimately the energy which is controlling the whole universe's expansion, as the womb of life, the father is that original cause, that singularity from which this universe has blossomed. And hello, Yana. And thank you, Ali. Nice chatting with you too. May you have a restful sleep and meaningful dreams. And thank you, Tan Hao Yo, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Feline, thank you for your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 roses. 12 of them. A whole dozen of them. All in sequence. Radhe Radhe. Feline, you share that I talk the way I am an old soul. Am I? Well, the soul is very old. How old? Ageless. And yet ever new. These are two beings, or two kinds of beingness that everyone has. There is that eternal component and that ever new component. If someone is very much in tune with their eternal component, then they say that's an old soul. And when someone is in tune with their ever new component, we say that's a young soul. But the truth is that old souls are just as ever new, and young souls are just as eternal. It is just that the role they are playing now might lean more towards that eternity or the ever newness. And hello, Sarah Lynn. Yes, I see you found the tiny stickers. I finally got around to doing that for you. And it is the same tiny that's on the duke that says, Yippee! And thank you, Kias, for your finger heart. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Loki, for your trio of roses and pair of cloud breads. Jai Sita Ram. And thank you, Sarah Lynn, for your rose. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Crossfires, you ask, what does it mean when I say that? Well, which one? Here, I'm going to test your listening. See if you can spell the thing you're asking about. Just because I like to. Jackie, you share that you think your soul is dumb. Well, the soul is by nature ignorant of the world, but the world is by nature ignorant of the soul. Mischief, you're wondering about Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and you spelt it perfectly. It means salutations to God in the form of Vasudevaya, the form of Vishnu, the preserver, essentially, of the Trimurti, of the creator, preserver, and destroyer. That mantra is dedicated to the aspect of the universe known as the preserver. Feline, you share that you want to get one? Where shall you? If you want to get a tiny beanie, it is on the link tree in my bio. Or if you just want the sticker, that's a part of the TikTok live subscription here. Arthur, you asked, how does one distinguish between mother and father, as it takes both to make life? The definition of the father is the source. The definition of the mother is that which expresses the source, nurtures it, tends to it. Potency and potential. The mother is the potency. The father is the potential. There is so much potential in the father, but the mother carries out the action. The Sanskrit words are Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti means energy or potency. Shaktiman means the energetic or the potential. The father is the Shaktiman, the energetic. The mother is the Shakti, the energy. Oh, the vibrancy in life, that is the mother. But that stillness from which all of that dance may happen, that is the father. You could say that movement is inspired by stillness. You could say that a painting is inspired by the blankness behind it. You could say that music is inspired by silence. In the same way, energy is inspired by the energetic. The potency is inspired by the potential. He is nothing without the mother, and she is nothing without the father. They are the primordial lovers. I just smacked my microphone. Thank you, Sarah Lynn, for your rose, and Feline for another rose. Radhe, Radhe. And Ragnhildur, thank you for the swan. So beautiful. Hari Om Tat Sat. One, you ask, is the mother wisdom which guides you? The mother delivers the wisdom. The father supplies it, you could say. You could also say that the mother applies it. The father supplies it, the mother applies it. Sky Guardian, you share that you have a mantra for me tomorrow, Yam? You promise? I've never heard of this Vasudeva mantra. Well, I am very excited. That is something I look forward to. Shepherds of Light, you share that your favorite mantra is Om Yeshu Mariam Tatvamasi Magdala Christo. I like your ability to interweave both Sanskrit and Christian words. That's lovely. Yeshua, Mary, and Magdalene. It's lovely. And Christo. Aramaic. Thank you. Monica Palamo. You ask, what kind of Buddhist am I? Clearly one that hasn't gotten the memo that I should shave my head. Now, I am hardly a good Buddhist because I'm always talking about the soul. The Buddhists don't like that. The Buddhists say, enough of this self-talk. Enough of this talk about the soul. Let's talk about the real stuff in life, the suffering. And with that, I hear Pema Chödrön. She is asking me to read from another part of her book. So let us read from an actual Buddhist nun and see what wisdom she has to share in the pocket Pema Chödrön. Today we are going to read number 12, which is called Move Toward Difficulty. We are told from childhood that something is wrong with us, with the world, and with everything that comes along. It's not perfect. It has rough edges. It has a bitter taste. It's too loud, too soft, too sharp, too wishy-washy. We cultivate a sense of trying to make things better because something is bad here. Something is a mistake here. Something is a problem here. The main point of the Buddhist teachings is to dissolve the dualistic struggle, our habitual tendency to struggle against what's happening to us or in us. These teachings instruct us to move toward difficulties rather than backing away. We don't get this kind of encouragement very often. Everything that occurs is not only usable and workable, but is actually the path itself. We can use everything that happens to us as a means for waking up. We can use everything that occurs, whether it's our conflicting emotions and thoughts, or our seemingly outer situation, to show us where we are asleep and how we can wake up completely, utterly, without reservations. Move toward difficulty. I like that. And thank you for listening with us. A good interim, and I'm glad you liked it, Shepherds of Light, and Burnt Cake, and Nostalgic Whispers. Monica, Palomo, you share. This is my favorite mantra. The mantra of silence. And that's a good question, Feline. Pema Chödrön, what does it mean? I'm unfamiliar what her name means, but it is her name. Her spiritual name. And thank you, Nene, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Feline, you share. Can I give you a mantra to calm down? Because you got a panic attack. I am sorry that you are having a panic attack. It can be a very vulnerable moment when we feel like that. And I have used mantras to calm down myself whenever I get them to. So they do very much help, and I'd be glad to relate which mantras have worked in my own experience. My favorite mantra, that is the Maha Mantra, also known as the Hare Krishna mantra. It's the same mantra that the Hare Krishnas use. It's very simple because it's only 3 words, just in different combinations. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Know that you are valid in what you are feeling, and this too shall pass. And thank you, Feline, for your quintet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Monica, you share that your favorite mantra is actually the Vajra Sattva mantra. I'm remembering if I have heard this before. Perhaps you could tell me a few words from it. Jess, you are wondering, where am I from? I am from Canada. Apple user, you ask, what's my best advice? Well, advice is usually to address a certain problem. It depends greatly on the problem. You'll have to give me some context. Unless you want advice that can be applied to all problems, therefore we must ask, what is the universal problem in life? Why don't I ask all of you, what is the universal problem? A problem that we all experience. The archetypal problem in all other problems. Fear, says Danielle. And Edward. Monica, you say lack of communication. Mason, you say suffering. Mischief, you say freaking suffering. Vicky, you say greed. Tatvamasi, you say forgetfulness. Ava, you say war. Burnt cake, you say consumption. Jackie, you say loneliness. Liz, you say anxiety. I like what you said, Crossfires, a lot. Misunderstanding. All of these things could all be solved with more understanding. Whether it be anxiety, fear, war, consumption, greed, suffering, there is some misunderstanding, some lack of communication, either with others or with ourselves. So what is the best way to gain understanding? I would say to be open to it. To not have any reservations about how things could be or couldn't be, should be or shouldn't be, would be or wouldn't be. Trust in yourself. I like that, G to infinity. Mason, you say openness and willingness to listen and be listened to. And Apple user, you say, think outside the box, then imagine there is no box. Starfire, you ask, I mean, just let it be. Let this moment be. And if in that moment there is potential, let that potential be. And if there is a clear way forward that compels you into action, let that be as well. And thank you, Feline, for your quintet of roses. And I like that way of putting it, Edward. The mind is a universal problem. Transcended? No more problems. The mind is a terrible master. when it thinks that it's running the show, oh my God. But the mind is an excellent servant. When it thinks that its duty is to serve, oh my God. And hello, Zealot, and thank you for your octet of cloud breads. Radhe, Radhe. Mischief, you share that you demand a lobotomy. Now, if you want to be severed from your suffering, I have good news. Because there are yogic procedures that are a lot less invasive than medical ones. Instead of distancing one part of your brain from another, distance yourself from the objects of sensation. Christina, you ask for origin story. Well, my mother loved my father very much, and the rest I can't explain here. Sky Guardian, you share. Vachanamrut time. Let us read from another section of this Vachanamrut. It will be our interim, and then we'll return to our regular format. This is a wonderful collection of about 300 discourses from a great being known as Swami Narayan. In this book is many words of wisdom, often direct and often filled with a lot of Sanskrit terminology and other Indian words. Here we are reading Gadhada 1:29. Good night, Monica. Intensifying the force of Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, and Bhakti. Prarabdha, grace, and personal endeavor. Already we are met with a lot of Sanskrit. What are these words? Intensifying the force of Dharma, our righteous duty. Jnana, knowledge. Vairagya, dispassion towards worldly, materialistic things. And Bhakti, devotion. So what does Prarabdha mean? I don't know. I don't know all the Sanskrit words, but I'm sure by context it will begin to reveal itself. On the evening of Posh Sudhi Punam, Samvat 1876, or the 31st of December 1819. And what is the word? Ask Shepherd of Light. Prarabdha. Praarabdha. It might not be Sanskrit as well. It could be very well some other Indian word. But Sriji Maharaj, Swami Narayan, was sitting on a large, decorated cot on the veranda outside the west-facing rooms of Dada Kachar's Darbar in Gadhada. He was wearing a white case and had covered himself with a thick white cotton cloth. He had also tied a white pug around his head. He was wearing garlands of white flowers, and tassels of white flowers were dangling from his pug. At that time, an assembly of sadhus, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him. Shriji Maharaj then said, "Please, ask a question." Thereupon, Gopalanand Swami asked, "How can the force of bhakti, devotion, coupled with dharma, righteous duty, jnana, knowledge, and vairagya be intensified?" You share, Gregor, that prarabdha is a Sanskrit word meaning commenced or begun. Thank you. Shriji Maharaj replied, "There are 4 means to accomplish this. One is a pure place. The second is an auspicious time. The third is pious actions. And the fourth is the company of a holy person." Or birth or destiny, you share, Gregorji. Thank you. Of these, the influence of actions is slight, whereas the influences of place, time, and company are more powerful. Why? Because if a place is pure, and the time is pure, and one also keeps the company of a sadhu like yourself, then actions will naturally be pure as well. Conversely, if a place is impure, like the region of Sindh, if the time is impure, and if one also keeps the company of, for example, those working for pleasing the sensual gratification, and other people who are not so easily drawn towards holy things or sacred things, or of those who consume, for example, alcohol and meat, then actions will certainly be impure as well. Therefore, one should stay where there is a pure place and should abandon, by whatever means necessary, a place where the time has become unfavorable. One should keep the company of devotees of God, as well as the company of the Sant, the saint, who is a knower of Brahman, the ultimate reality, and who observes the 5 religious vows. As a result, a devotee's bhakti, devotion for God, gains tremendous vigor. This is the answer to your question. Thereafter, Muktanand Swami asked, "Maharaj, initially a devotee may be very impure at heart, but they later become extremely pure. Is this due to their previous samskars, impressions often carrying over from past lives, the grace of God, or the devotee's personal endeavors?" Shriji Maharaj explained, "The good or bad that occurs due to one's previous samskars is apparent to everyone in the world. For instance, the case of Bharatji, which was a great Indian king, of whom India is named after. The word for India is Bharat, and Bharat was a great king. There's a famous story of how, at the end of his life, he became very attracted to this fallen deer and was taking care of this deer. And because at the time of death, that deer was the only thing remaining in his mind, then he was reborn as a deer. And then he spent the next life as a deer, wandering around temples. And because the temples were the last thing in his mind then, he was reborn as someone who was able to partake in temple worship in a human form. So, for instance, the case of Bharaji becoming attached to a deer can be understood to be due to prarabdha, which, as Gregor G has informed, is a word that means birth or destiny, commenced or begun. Or, if a poor person were to receive a large kingdom, then everyone would come to know of it. That should be known as prarabdha. Then, narrating their own story, Sriji Maharaj continued, "Now, considering the spiritual endeavors I had performed, it is inconceivable that my body should survive such austerities. Yet, even in those circumstances, it did survive. That can be considered to be due to prarabdha." And I like that interpretation, G to infinity. Fate seems reasonable given the context indeed. What were those circumstances? Well, while staying in Purushottam Puri, I spent many months surviving merely on air. On one occasion, I allowed my body to be carried away by a river that was 3 to 4 gaus wide. During the winter, summer and monsoon, I stayed without any shelter whatsoever, wearing only a loincloth. I also used to wander in the jungle amongst wild animals, such as tigers, elephants, and wild buffaloes. I traveled in countless such arduous conditions, yet my body did not perish. In these situations, one should consider prarabdha to be responsible. Now, consider the son of the Brahmin named Sandipani, who was saved from Narak, and also 5-year-old Dhruvji, to whom the meanings of the Vedas and other scriptures were spontaneously revealed when he began to utter the praises of God. In these situations, as well as when one's mind is purified by the wish of God, or by His grace, or by the grace of His ekantic saint, who has been pleased by one's extremely pure sentiments, the influence of God's grace should be considered to be responsible. If one keeps the company of a pious sadhu and becomes virtuous through one's own thoughts, then that is known as personal endeavor. Having said this, Sri Ji Maharaj bid Jai Satchitananda, victory to existence, consciousness, bliss, to the assembly, and returned to his seat laughing. I like that. Returned to his seat laughing. So, it is up to us to keep the company of a pious sadhu and become virtuous through our own thoughts. This is our personal endeavor. When we are, for example, spontaneously relishing in the grace of God, and that is known to be by grace, and the big features of our life, those are our fate, or fates, plural. That is at least what I gathered from this excerpt from the Vachanamrut. So I thank you for listening with me together, and for helping me understand this new word, prarabdha. A lovely interim. Feline, you share that you wonder in what you will rebirth. In a cat, 'cause on that earth so far, you are a mouse. You know why you are Vi? Because since 29 IP and still alive. I think there might be a little language barrier there. But it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that we will be reborn into a very body that is fit for the desires that remain in our mind at the time of death. And if your desires are best fulfilled by the cat of a feline, by the body of a feline, then such is your destiny, your prarabdha. Gregarji, you share that your desire at death shall be nirvana. Well, what better body to achieve it other than the one you are already born in now? And thank you, Andrea, for your balloons and rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And hello, Pibu. I am having a good evening. Thank you. And I like that interpretation, cancel the internet. Be like Bharatji, being reborn as a temple. I like that. Gregarji, you say you can't wait to see us all there. Wow, I have good news, my friend. You are already seeing all of us there. For Nirvana is in this moment, here, now. Freshly seen, you share that you would love to know how I achieve my backdrop. Well, it's a tapestry of space. One that my mother got for me when I was going to university, so that I could have some space on my wall to space out in, and I spent many moments staring at it. Now on TikTok Live Studio, which is software on my laptop, you can select the option to have a green or a blue screen. Because the tapestry is mostly blue, then I've selected the blue screen option, and then I've put a video of space behind it, so that makes it for a cool effect. Isabel's Fairy Tales. You share that it's hard to imagine nirvana. We can say we want one thing after death, but who knows what it will be? Here. Nirvana? It is what you are already looking at. You say, how can that be? When the Buddhists say this is clearly samsara. Actually, it is both samsara and nirvana. When our sense of self is in the world, then we are in samsara. But when our sense of self is withdrawn from the world, then we are in nirvana. What changes in our experience? Nothing. The experience remains the same. It is merely our understanding of it that changes. What is changed is that At first we thought we were a part of the world. Now we understand that we're not. The world remains the same, but it is the understanding that creates the experience of nirvana, and the misunderstanding which creates the experience of samsara. The Buddha was in the same place that we are, yet he was having a grand old time, wasn't he? How can he be in the same universe, and yet he is suffering, and yet he is not suffered, but we are. Yes, freshly seen, you share. Our perception changes. The world does remain the same. Little Wing Nico, you ask, what did I do at university? A whole lot of nothing. I never went to class, let me tell you. Of all the good students in the world, I don't think you should compare me to any of them. I spent a lot more time in my dorm room than in any class, that's for sure. I would stay up in bed. I'd be playing Minecraft on my laptop. I'd rather play Minecraft than go to class. One time, I woke up at 7 p.m. and one of the people that lived in my dorm, they said, "You look like you just woke up." I said, "I did." What was I meant to be doing then? I am sure that I was meant to be doing exactly what I was doing. But I had enrolled myself in many physics and mathematics classes, some philosophy, some computer science, some English, some chemistry. I took a lot of classes. I probably have one of the lowest GPAs possible. Do you want to know my GPA by the time I left? It was 0.7. How many people do you know with a GPA of 0.7? What is a GPA? It's a grade point average out of 4. Means how good of a student you were. No, it means how good your grades were. Sky Guardian, you say, Yam, please don't end satsang too late. You got work tomorrow, but you're looking forward to day's ending. As you wish. And I am happy that you consider this satsang. I'm glad you find the sat here. I can guarantee sangha, but it's up to you to find the sat, isn't it? Now, yes, we'll have an early end today, since I know you are excited to read the end of Roar the Ganges, so we will do so. Land this plane shortly. And thank you, Liz, for your owl. Radhe, Radhe. And Little Wing Nico, thank you for your friendship necklace. Jai Sitaram. Now, I have a question for all of you. Today I am wondering, what word do you find funny to say? I would love to know. Give me some funny words. I am curious. Nostalgic whispers, you share glabella or patella. Moist, says Freshly Seen. Massachusetts, says Liz, since you can't say it properly. That's a difficult one, isn't it? Kumquat, says Isabel's Fairy Tales. Periwinkle, says Gordon. Alan Wake, you say, the word silly. Silly is a silly word, isn't it? Rhombus, says Greg RG. Billy, says Feline. Mississippi, says Eric. Spoon, says Mellow Maverick. Vacuum. Jenna Ray, you ask, can I say unique New York 3 times? Unique New York, unique New York, unique New York. Did I do it? I think I did it. I won't test my luck on a 4th one. How could I say that 3 times, but I messed up saying the word luck? Saying like. Radiator, says Sage. That's a very satisfying word, in my opinion. Wait, never mind. You say that you think hogwash is funny. I think it is funny too. Hogwash. Alan, you say fork is also a silly word. Kian, you say Canada, Quebec, or Quebec. And Liz, you say, oh, the word y'all to foreigners. Y'all, I like it. It's a good word. Moon, says Feline. Sphincter, says April. Phenomenon, says Kay. Skippy on the bad day? You share entertainment. You're French. Well, I would love to know how you attempt to pronounce it. Entertainment. I don't know. Thank you, Jenna Ray. Adios, Aquarius lady. Uranus, says Sage. It's a funny word. Yes, I agree. Or Uranus. Freshly Seen, you're wondering why I asked? Well, today is Throat Chakra Thursday. I like to ask questions based on words, self-expression, communication. Today I'm curious what words you find funny. Perplexing, says Casey. Kaylee says duodenum. Soon, says Ricky. Perchance, says Sage. Crossfires, you share that cellar doors is supposed to be the most beautifully spoken words of a foreigner. Interesting. I have certainly never heard of that before. Reality, says Young Blood. Reality can be very funny. Jenna Ray, you share cellar door, and Banafi feels great. Banafi, I've never heard of that, but it does feel great. Broccoli, says Shreen Digo Digo. Philan, you say, I am not sure how to say this in French. Krukui kui kuru. Krukui kui kuru. That's my guess. Moist, says Fat Cat Weaves. Badonic, says Mason. Cattywampus, says Kev. Alan, you share the word goober is also silly. I agree. Little Wing Nico, you say a Scottish place called Ecclefechan There's no way I'm pronouncing that right. I have absolutely no hypothesis. Eklifachan. Little Wing Nico, you share that your fave is Ayenwit. Ayenwit. Yes, and what? Exotic, says Aquarius Lady. Rudabaga, says Casey. Facetious, says April. Ron Ronner, says Feline. Bangladesh, says Eva. Baguette, says Javen. Chumbawamba, says Freshly Seen. Yamsox, says Sage. It is funny to say, isn't it? Yamsox. What is my funny favorite word to say? Asks Liz. I like to say the Spanish word arriba. I think it's a great word. Arriba. Anti-disestablishmentarianism, says one cheeky chick. Camembert, says Feline. And Alan, you add skedaddle, like skedaddle out of here. Alright, thank you everyone for exploring this goofy question of the day. I've learned many words in the span of a very short time. So thank you. And thank you, Ricky, for your heart me a few minutes ago. Hariom Tat Sat. What about Yippee? I do like that one too, yes. Very good. And Cindy Wien, thank you for your heart me. Hariom Tat Sat. And Alan, thank you for your rose. And thank you, France, for your rose as well. Jai Sitaram. I'm glad you're making use of the yippee tiny sticker now. And thank you, one cheeky chick, for your heart me. You're very welcome, Freshly Seen. May your sleep be a gorgeous one. May you have a gorgeous sleep. And thank you, Liz, for your tiny diny. Yippee! Now, let us read the final section of the final chapter of Roar the Ganges. I think tomorrow we might read just a little bit more. We might read the the afterword, some further information about the author. But we'll end the final chapter right now. And let us read so Sky can sleep in peace. Yes, indeed. This goes out to you. As our guru, Swami Dayananda climbed into the white ambassador that would take him to New Delhi, everyone in the ashram crowded around the car to say goodbye. He waved as his car sped out through the gate, its horn blaring to scatter some children playing in the lane outside. Those left behind remained in a cluster, talking about how they would miss Swami Dayananda's astute teaching and silly jokes. Classes at the ashram would continue, of course, deftly taught by Swami Prakash. Vijay pulled me aside and asked, "So, what is your program now?" "Well, I have a few weeks left before my flight back to the States, so I had planned to visit the Coimbatore ashram. I leave by train in a couple days." "I am having one plan," Vijay said with an impish grin. "Why not I go with you? We can be stopping at important temples and pilgrimage centers along the way to Coimbatore." Vijay quickly sketched out an itinerary, laying plans for yet another spiritual adventure. I had previously gone on many such trips with Vijay and others. Each journey was as exhausting as it was exhilarating. Without hesitation, I agreed to Vijay's proposal. I had never been very fond of traveling, and travel in India can be particularly exasperating. Trains can be so irregular that timetables serve only to calculate how late the trains are. Long rides on crowded, dilapidated buses with worn shock absorbers is tortuous, especially on overnight trips. Every journey is subject to a variety of obstacles. Broken down buses, mountain roads blocked by landslides, railway tracks blocked by derailments, ticket offices, and even entire towns shut down by strikes and political unrest. And when you arrive in an unfamiliar town in the middle of the night, finding clean, comfortable accommodations can be impossible. Then why did I so eagerly agree to Vijay's proposal? I feel drawn to holy places, to places of pilgrimage. I have traveled pilgrimage routes throughout India. I have traveled north to Gangotri, 10,000 feet high in the Himalayas, where the river Ganges emerges from the glaciers. I have traveled south to Kanyakumari, on India's southernmost tip, where a ferry once shuttled me to a tiny island on which the Vivekananda Memorial stands. I stood shoulder to shoulder with 200,000 pilgrims who had converged on the holy city of Haridwar for the grand Kumbh Mela, an immense religious convocation held there every 12 years. I sought out sacred temples hidden in remote corners of the country. All these pilgrimage experiences blessed and enriched me beyond measure. Pilgrimage, known in Sanskrit as yatra, is for me one of Hinduism's richest, most inspiring practices. A yatra to a holy place is much more than religious sightseeing. It is also much more than an opportunity to atone for one's sins and accumulate grace. Pilgrimage is actually an archetypal journey that represents the sacred voyage of life, a journey of spiritual growth in which one seeks to discover Ishvara, God. No yatra is completed by merely arriving at a specified locale. In each of India's holy places stands a temple in which Ishvara is worshipped in a form uniquely associated with that place. Pilgrims' journeys are fulfilled only when they enter that temple to stand in Ishvara's presence and offer their worship. Thus, pilgrims are not just travelers, they are seekers on a sacred quest which is fulfilled by gaining darshan, sight, by seeing and being in the presence of Ishvara. All of us who are spiritual seekers are pilgrims in a way. We have embarked on a spiritual journey, the pilgrimage of life. And this yatra, like any other, is fulfilled only by darshan of Ishvara. But on the pilgrimage of life, instead of seeking within far-off temples, we seek to discover Ishvara's presence within ourselves. In temples fashioned of flesh and bone that are called by our given names, Ishvara's presence in our hearts is represented by the architecture of ancient temples constructed with a pattern resembling a square within a square within a square. The temple compound is circumscribed by a lofty wall, which is punctuated by towering gateways facing the 4 cardinal directions. Passing through the main gate, you would find the temple surrounded by a second inner wall. Smaller gateways lead through this inner wall to an enclosed courtyard, and in the middle of the courtyard stands the main temple building. Entering the temple, you would find yourself in a vast hall whose granite roof is supported by hundreds of pillars. Walking through the hall towards the inner reaches of the temple, you would find yourself in a smaller pillared hall. Walking further into the growing darkness of the temple's interior, you would finally stand before the innermost chamber, the Garbha Griha, where the consecrated deity resides. By entering deeper and deeper into the temple, you finally gain darshan, standing in the deity's presence. In a similar way, when you turn your attention within, beyond your body, beyond your senses, beyond your mind and thoughts, you can discover Ishvara's presence within as the unborn, undying consciousness ceaselessly shining in the innermost core of your being. To extend this metaphor further, every yatra requires guidance, whether it is a pilgrimage to a remote temple or an inner pilgrimage seeking Ishvara's presence within. Pilgrims who don't know the route can become lost, frustrated, or even disheartened. Therefore, guidance is necessary. On any pilgrimage, the best guide is one who has been there before. Someone who has traveled the path and learned from experience. Someone whose primary agenda is to lead you to discover what they discovered themselves. I was happy that Vijay would guide me on our yatra to South India, and for my spiritual journey that began in California so many years ago. I am profoundly grateful to have been guided by my Guru, Swami Dayananda, who skillfully and lovingly led me to discover what I sought within. Returning to Rishikesh to write this book has been part of my journey. Reading it has been part of yours. We have traveled together through these pages and shared a few adventures. Now, this segment of our journeys comes to an end. Our paths part here, perhaps to cross again, perhaps not. Yet the sacred pilgrimage of our lives continues as we pursue further spiritual and emotional growth, as we seek truth and fulfillment, and as we share what we have discovered with others. And with that, we conclude our reading of Roar of the Ganges. There is an afterword, as well as some further information and a section about the author, but we'll save that like dessert for tomorrow. For now, I thank you all for listening with me as we read through such a wonderful book written by Swami Dayananda Ji. I thank him again for offering his prayers and best wishes through me to all of you, as he gave expressed permission for us to read this in our Sangha. Additionally, he has expressed permission for me to upload the recordings of all of the sessions that we read. So, Sky Guardian, being Swami Tadatmananda Ji's foremost disciple, has volunteered to clip out the readings, and currently on the Yamsox Lives YouTube channel is a playlist where you can listen to all of the past 60-some sessions that we read. So it's a whole audiobook, essentially, there for you. And I suspect there will be one more episode left. And then we'll start a new book tomorrow. In Love at Ease, I believe. A book by Pramukh Swami Maharaj. And Liz, you ask, when is the free PDF coming out? You know, I don't know. I actually emailed him, but he didn't respond to that part of the email. He did respond to my email, but not to that part. So it will be a little mystery. But yes, supposedly he had mentioned in a previous email that that whole book will be made as a free PDF sometime soon. Whatever soon is. Sky Guardian, you share that he told you he doesn't know. He doesn't know? Okay, fair enough. One day. Thank you, one cheeky chick, for your hearts. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Alan Wake, thank you for your TGIF. And 4 Cloudbreads. Jai Sita Ram. I am so happy that we finished another book together too, Anna. And thank you, Jody, for your Quintet of Roses. And Fey Witch, thank you for your heart me. Laura, you ask, what's the good word today? Snickerdoodle. Thank you, Fey Witch, for another disco love. And the link below. Thank you for your hanging lights. Hari Om Tat Sat. Today we will be ending our live with another chanting session. We will be listening to a wonderfully recited chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that this chapter, chapter 15, is recited before meals, and you'll soon hear why. We're listening to a YouTube channel called Gaia Sanskrit, and Gaia is someone in the UK, I believe, who discovered Sanskrit and fell in love with it. Correct pronunciation of Sanskrit is an art form, truly, and she has spent many years mastering that art form herself, and so I very much look forward to listening to her chant it for us. So, as I've mentioned many times before, the Bhagavad Gita is a Gita at heart. It is a song. But when I read to you, for example, the English translation, we lose what that song sounds like. It is a philosophical text on the nature of the soul and yoga and God, but it's also a song that was sung 5,160 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, on the precipice of the greatest battle in the Mahabharata taking place. We'll have a video playing along with this so we can watch her sing live, and it'll be a lovely experience. I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to be minimizing the background music that we've been listening to so far so I can maximize her lovely voice. And this will be our meditation session today. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to recite the Bhagavad Gita, so I'll just be listening. But you are all welcome to chant along if you feel the challenge. Okay, I believe you all can see this, and you should be able to hear it as well. This is the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, sung by Gaia.
अथ पञ्चदशोऽध्यायः पुरुषोत्तमयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्। अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः। अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके। न रूपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा। अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन छित्त्वा। ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम् यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः। तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी। तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी। तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी। निर्मानमोहाजितसङ्गदोषा अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः। द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैः गच्छन्त्यमूढाः पदमव्ययं तत्। द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैः गच्छन्त्यमूढाः पदमव्ययं तत्। पदमव्ययं तत्। पदमव्ययं तत्। न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम। ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः। मनः षष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति। शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति। वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुः स्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणमेव अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसः नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसः यदातित्यगतं तेजो यदातित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम् जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम् यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहं ओजसा पुष्णामि चौषधी सर्वाः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षरम् यस्माक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य विभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः विभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्मात्क्षरम् अतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद् भजति माम् स सर्वविद् भजति माम् सर्वभावेन भारत स सर्वविद् भजति माम् स सर्वविद् भजति माम् सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत कृतकृत्यश्च भारत कृतकृत्यश्च भारत कृतकृत्यश्च भारत तत्सद् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे पुरुषोत्तमयोगो नाम पञ्चदशोऽध्यायः।
What was your first meditation experience ever?
I was 14 years old. I was a young kid in Malaysia.
Not the advertisement at the end. Now, speaking of meditation experiences, what a wonderful one that was. So thank you for listening with us. Thank you for sending that to us, Sky Guardian, or to me for us to listen to. What a wonderful woman she is, Gaia Sanskrit. That's Gaia Sanskrit. And such masterful vocation with humanity's oldest tongue. Truly is a wonderful art form. I don't think I have heard more perfect pronunciation from anyone but her. And what a wonderful rendition of the Bhagavad Gita, a song on humanity's oldest spiritual lineage stemming from the Vedas. And thank you, Kishori, you share. She is also on Instagram. Good to know. All right, and with that, we will be ending our live stream today. But thank you, Isabel's Fairy Tales, for your balloons a few minutes ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Zanetta, thank you for your trio of friendship necklaces. Jai Siddharam and La Dulce Muerte. Thank you for your quintet of roses. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Mahina, for your rose dome. And Kiz, thank you for your finger heart. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Liz, for your stinging bee. Oh no! Thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, Aquarius Lady. And thank you, Mason Jones. And thank you, Little Wing Nico, for your finger heart and Tiny Tiny. Yahoo! And thank you, Tatvamasi, for your quintet of roses. And the link below, thank you for your fire. As always, I will be uploading the recording of this live to my YouTube channel, Yamsox Lives. That is in the link tree in my bio, the first link. And the second link is my ASMR channel, Yamsox ASMR, where we read through the Bhagavad Gita, the very same Bhagavad Gita that this lovely lady was reciting. We are not at the 15th chapter yet. We are at the 8th chapter. Instead of singing it in its original Sanskrit, I am whispering it to you in an English translation. So you're welcome there. And Feline, you would like a little relaxation for sleeping? 10 more minutes, please. You're like a little kid. I want to sleep in for 10 more minutes. I would very humbly direct you to the Yamsox ASMR channel. If you like the relaxation that is in this space, all the same is for you there. It's just maybe not live. But if you're trying to sleep anyway, it doesn't have to be live, I hope. And Liz, you share that Sky is punching the phone, wanting to sleep. I could just read the final of Roar the Ganges. That is true, but I did want to show the picture, as we read, of Swamiji signing the book for the last section. I think that would be really nice. But I suppose we could read something else. I could read to you a verse from the Tao Te Ching. How about that? Here, let's see. What's a nice long verse for you? Here's one. Here, we'll read two. We'll read 15 and 16. Both of these are long. Actually, 14 is also long. We could read 3. Yeah, let's do 14, 15, 16. What we look for beyond seeing and call the unseen, listen for beyond hearing and call the unheard, grasp for beyond reaching and call the withheld, merge beyond understanding in a oneness which does not merely rise and give light, does not merely set and leave darkness, but forever sends forth a succession of living things as mysterious as the unbegotten existence to which they return. That is why men have called them empty phenomenon, meaningless images in a mirage with no face to meet, no back to follow. Yet one who is anciently aware of existence, is master of every moment, feels no break since time beyond time in the way life flows. 15. Long ago, the land was ruled with a wisdom too fine, too deep to be fully understood. And since it was beyond men's full understanding, only some of it has come down to us, as in these sayings. Alert as a winter farer on an icy stream, wary as a man in ambush, considerate as a welcome guest, selfless as melting ice, green as an uncut tree, open as a valley, and this one also, roiled as a torrent. Why roiled as a torrent? Because when a man is in turmoil, how shall he find peace? Save by staying patient till the stream clears? How can a man's life keep its course if he will not let it flow? Those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. They feel no wear, they feel no tear, they need no mending, no repair. And 16. Be utterly humble, and you shall hold to the foundation of peace. Be at one with all these living things which, having arisen and flourished, return to the quiet whence they came, like a healthy growth of vegetation, falling back upon the root. Acceptance of this return to the root has been called quietism. Acceptance of quietism has been condemned as fatalism. But fatalism is acceptance of destiny, and to accept destiny is to face life with open eyes, whereas not to accept destiny is to face death blindfold. He who is open-eyed is open-minded. He who is open-minded is open-hearted. He who is open-hearted is kingly. He who is kingly is godly. He who is godly is useful. He who is useful is infinite. He who is infinite is immune. He who is immune is immortal. And with that, we will begin to end today's live. And thank you, Joanna, for your baker's dozen worth of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And if ever you want the pair of Yamsox that are on my microphone, or if you ever want a Duke with a tiny imprinted upon it. Both such ridiculous articles of apparel are available to you on the link tree in my bio, specifically the store tab. And although they are never necessary, and they won't bring you any happiness that is not already within your very soul, they do help me feel both appeased in knowing that you are getting something physical in return for what you offer me, and as a result of which I am able to save for my trip to India this coming summer, beginning of fall. So thank you. And with that, I offer this live stream like a petal of a lotus at the feet of my divine parents, Shri Radha Krishna. May this be an offering to you. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Usha, for your hanging lights just as we leave. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Katie, for your rose. And Mahina for your rose as well. Jai Sita Ram. Graham, you shared that you listened to my previous day's live while at work every day. That's so sweet. Well, I hope it doesn't take you away from your ability to be a good worker. And I appreciate that you find value in them. What does Jai Sita Ram mean? Asks Faithful Being. Jai means victory too. Sita is the Divine Mother. Rama is the Divine Father. Together they comprise the two fundamental components of existence, as Shakti and Shaktiman, as Prakriti and Purusha. Potency and potential. I bid you all farewell, and may you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment. Namaskar.